Hi guys, so today we're going to look at more of the area and then we're going to do a little bit of circumference. Hopefully you have checked out the notes sheet that I put online. It has a couple practice problems. It has the formulas on it. Let me pull it out so you guys can see it actually. Looks like this. You don't need to print it. You can always write it down. Make sure that you have these two formulas because that is the whole idea of circles, area of circles, and circumference of circles. We're going to get into semicircles, not this week, but next week. I did put a short video on there so you can kind of understand what's coming if you want to get ahead in your math packet. How we're going to kind of do these videos is I'm going to go through some of the math packets with you on here because this, how I put it in, is everything that we still need to cover is in this packet. If you look on this sheet, it will say new. If you were in Zoom this morning, we're going to go over all this. So we already went over this. We're going to look at page 4 today, so day 4's work. For all of these problems, you should be using a calculator, whether it's a phone or anything, just because pi is such a crazy number, you do not need to do all the work by hand. So for area of a circle, the main thing is we need to understand the formula. So the formula is area, and then you should put a circle down here, equals pi times your radius squared. Since you're dealing with area, it's flat, it is two-dimensional. Whenever you label it, it'll be like units squared, or here it would be like inches squared. If you don't have a radius, you need to find your radius. Is the only hard part with area of a circle. Other than that, it's really just writing the formula, plugging in, and solving. We're going to go through, there's two ways to get an answer. They're both completely correct. For pi, you can use pi on your calculator. Pi's right there, or I can show you on the phone. If you're using your phone, a lot of us aren't always sure how to use a calculator phone, so let me show you guys. Here is what you would do. You would turn it. Okay, when you turn it, pi is where? Takes me a second all the time. Oh, down here. You guys can see that. Let's see. Pi is right down here. It's hard to see on here, it's getting blurry, but it's 2 away from 0. Okay, so there's where how you get pi if you're using your phone. If you're using a calculator, it's usually easier to see than that. So when you plug it in, I always rewrite it as area, and I rewrite the formula just so you know what you're plugging in. Pi times radius squared. Then you plug in pi times your radius is 5. Your radius is half the distance across your circle. So we get 5 there, and we always square it. The main thing is that you guys know is 5 squared is not 5 times 2. It means 5 times 5. So there's 2 answers you could actually put. You could put that it equals 5 squared is 25 pi. That is one answer. I just switched the order. You could switch it to multiplication. Or if you're using, you want the actual answer, you do 25 pi. It's really blurry today. And when you get that, I always say go to 1 decimal point. So 78.5. That is going to be the same thing. And when you label it, it's always going to be inches squared, this one. Either of those is correct. You do not have to put both of them. It's your choice what you want to use. Okay, so if we go to number 2, you're going to do the exact same thing. Area equals pi times radius squared. You plug it in, pi, your radius here, this is really being weird today, is 4, and you square it. Remember, 4 squared is not 8, it means 4 times 4. You're either going to get 16 pi feet squared, or if you plug that in, you would get 50 point, I would say 0.3 because we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So 50.3 feet squared. Those are both correct. Okay? Let's look at number 4. We're going to use the exact same formula. Okay, but we don't have a radius. This is your diameter. We know that the radius is half the diameter, so all you have to do is you take that number and you take half of it. So we got to find out, you could do it by doing 22 divided by 2, or you can just know in your head that half of 22 is 11. So when you plug it in, you get 11 there. And when we square 11, it is not 22. It is 121 pi. And that would be centimeters squared. Or, if you plug it in, 121 times pi you would get 380.1 centimeters squared. Okay? So if you look at the whole left side, we did 2 of them. The other one, you're also going to be using radius. For the other side, though, you're using diameter, so you have to take half of both of those numbers. We're going to try number 6. You guys can do 5 and 3 on your own. Number 6, same formula. Area equals pi times radius squared. Some people, just because you always put the number in front of pi typically, they write the formula as area equals radius squared times pi. That is also correct. They are both correct. It's just order multiplication does not matter. Okay, if we're using 3, we need to find half of 3. You could either do 3 divided by 2. 2 goes into 3 once, that's 2. You get 1, drop a 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. It's okay to have a decimal, okay? It is perfectly fine. The only difference is when you square it, you're probably going to need to use a calculator. So it'll be 1.5 squared times pi. Or you could do it as a fraction, 3/2 squared times pi. They're the exact same thing, okay? So either way you want to do it, I usually just put decimals since you're already using a calculator. When you would square it, you would just type it in 1.5, square it, and you would get 2.25. So even if you have a decimal, it's not like, it's kind of like you're squaring 15, but the decimal is still in there. So that's where you got to be careful. You're doing 1.5 times 1.5 realistically. So it'd be 2.25 pi feet squared, or when you multiply by pi, you would get 7.1 feet squared. Okay? So hopefully that helped a little bit. Even if your number is odd, you can still find what half of that number would be. Hopefully that helps. You guys can do 5 and 3 on your own. Let's look at, I'm going to flip a little bit in the page. Page 5 is pretty much the same thing. It's just more practice with it. We're going to look at circumference real quick. So it would be page 6 in your packet. You also have 2 of these, so we're going to do a couple just so you guys have some little help with it. Alright, so when we're doing circumference is a whole different formula if you look over here. Circumference, it says equals C equals pi times D, which is your diameter. So we should always write it, C equals pi times D, or a lot of people do C equals D times pi, just because when you plug it in, it's one less thing to move around. I typically use this one so that it's one less step, but we'll show both because they're the same thing. Circumference is the distance around. So if I would cut this circle and pretend it's like a rope and then open it up, it's how long that circle would be. That is why pi is a ratio that helps with circles, since there is no direct side length because there's no straight sides. They're all curved and all of that. But if I would cut it and measure around, or I would take like a tape measure and curve it so it fit, it's the distance around a shape. So it's kind of like the perimeter, but you're dealing with a circle. So when you plug it in, C equals pi times D. We have to find D. D we know is the whole distance across. Okay? If this part's 5, that means this is the exact same. So all you do is you take that radius and you double it. So 5 and 5 would be 10. You can write it as c equals 10 pi. Now, you're only using one dimension, it's perimeter, so just be inches. You don't put a square or anything. Or you can use your calculator and do 10 times pi, and round to the nearest tenth, we would get 31.4. Just inches, 31.4 inches. Okay. All right, let's do number 4 together. Okay, for number 4, circumference equals pi times diameter. Now, it's giving you the whole distance across, so that would be your diameter. So when you plug it in, c equals, diameter is 22, pi, you could either say that that's your answer. A lot of you guys are going to see this is a way easier way to put an answer in. It's up to you how you do it. They are both correct. Sometimes you'll specify, like put it as a number without pi, or leave it in pi format. Either way, you will know how to do it. You're just multiplying or not multiplying is the only difference. And then if you would actually solve it, 22 times pi, you would get 59.1. And it would be centimeters. Okay, let's do number 2. I want you guys to set it up, so go ahead, pause the video, and why don't you do 2 and 5, and then we're going to go over them real quick together, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So go ahead, pause this. Hopefully you have paused it by now. If not, make sure you go press that. For the first one, c equals, your diameter would be double this length, so another 4. Which would be 8 pi feet. It's as simple as that, guys. I should have wrote it first. So. And when you actually solve it, 8 pi is 25.1 feet. Okay, and the last one, you already have it in a diameter. So c equals pi times your diameter. You should have put that c equals 10 pi inches, or we already have that actually up here. We know that it is 31.4 inches. So these are the exact same circles. Okay, hopefully that helped. You guys can do 5, 6, and then all of page 7 with this information. I would say make sure that you're working on all of these. We're going to do semicircles next week, so if you don't want to get into that, you don't have to. It's very similar to this. It's just the circumference or distance around a semicircle is the only hard part, because you now cannot use this formula because you have a straight side too. So we're going to do that next week. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you either Friday or next week on Zoom. Bye, guys.